Okay, so if you're not finishing service calls in the same day, it's going to steal capacity from tomorrow, right? And it can come back as repeat scheduling, overtime, missed calls, customer dissatisfaction, unsatisfied customers, even though your demand doesn't slow down. And so over time, like there's a lot of things that could happen. Of course, it depends on the type of job, but what we can do in this video, in this tutorial, is I'm going to show you same day completion rate by month and then also by technician. Okay, so in the data set here, and if you want this data set, there's a link below or above, I guess, depending where this video is, to download the video, or you can shoot me an email, and I'll give you my email here in a bit. Just make sure if you email me, just tell me, the file for same day completion rate. Okay, so we have a bunch of data here, but all we have to do is just do one formula. And so if you don't have this, or if you can't recreate this from, say, your Service Titan export, then let me know and I can help you model these folders. There will be a link to where you can hop on my calendar. Okay, so this is the only thing we have to calculate. This column here, was it completed the same day or not? And there's two ways to tell. The first one is there's nothing here, like it's blank, so it wasn't completed yet. And then the second thing to tell is if the completion date is greater than the start date. And so that's what this formula is saying. It's saying if or, so two criteria, or, and the first one is this blank, or if the completion date, AC2, here, is greater than B2, which is the data service. And if any of those things are true, then it's no. It was not completed on the same day, or it's yes, it was completed on the same day. And so that's it. That's the only thing you have to do. And make sure whenever you do this, do it on the outside of your original data set. Because if you're copying new data every month to maintain the data model, then you're going to want to just copy and paste and have every column the same. But if you insert something here and then your new data set doesn't have this inserted column, then everything's going to be off-centered, right? It's going to be offset one column. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get a unique list of months, and then we just do a count if it's yes, it was completed, versus a count if it was no, it was not completed. And so let's just start right here. Let me zoom in. So month, and then if you just type in the word January, and then you drag it down until you see December, then you will get a list of the months. And then the next thing we need are just these two: completed, not completed, completion rate, and then the minimum and the maximum is so we can set this band. But I'm just going to copy this to save a couple seconds and then paste it here. Okay, so to find completed, we're going to do a count if s because we have two criteria. Count if is one criteria, count if s is multiple criteria. So the first criteria is this, comma, and then yes. And then another comma for the next criteria, and that's way over here, is the month, comma, is that January, which is right here in cell B3. And so the answer is 81. You can double click, it'll drag it down, and then we can just highlight this, do the same thing, just change the yes to no. And then you can click to drag it down, or you can go here, hold down the shift key, press the right arrow, press the down arrow, and then press Control D, as in David, and that'll tell you. That'll fill it down. So now how do we get the completion percentage? Well, it's going to be 81 divided by 81 plus 19, right? The sum. This is dummy data. There's 100 rows for every month. So it's going to equal this divided by the sum of this, and we get 81%. If you press Control Shift and the number 5, it will automatically change it to a percentage and then drag it down. So let's say the minimum is 75% and the maximum is 85%. And then underneath, press equals the number above it. And then you can actually copy this and then paste it down. And the reason is because we want to have a dynamic band. We want this band to automatically update. Okay, so let's create the chart. All you have to do is highlight this and then hold down the Control key and then highlight everything. But I'm going to show you a trick. I'm only going to highlight these two. Normally I would highlight everything, but I want to show you this little trick. So here, go to Insert and then go to Recommended Charts. and then you have this here. So it's this one, but if you go to all charts and then combo, it's the same. So then you can click OK right here. And the trick is this: highlight this, copy, click on the chart, and then paste. And then now you can see they're both here. I mean, we're not done, obviously, but that's how you can add that extra range. Just copy and paste. Okay, so here let's change the minimum bound to, I don't know, maybe 60. What do we have here? 55. Okay, let's change it to 55. We want to change this to a line. That's why it looks a little bit weird. Okay, so go here, go to change chart type, and then here choose line. And now you have 3 lines. But once we change this to 55, so double click, then go to 0.55 under the minimum bound. It's under the 3 little columns. And now you have this. But before on the other one we have 75 as a minimum bound. Okay, so now we have that done. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna just do a little bit of housekeeping here. Let's change this to gray. Let's change it to say 1.5, even less, and let's make it a dash. Same thing here. Gray 1.5 dash. This dash? No, I don't know which one it was. I think it was this one. Okay, now you have a band. And before, when I told you a dynamic band, you can see now you can easily change the band. And if you want to see the values, just click on the blue line, click the crosshair, and then do data labels. And then if you want to move anything, if it gets a little bit weird, you can just move. Okay, so we'll call this same day completion rate by month. All right, so the next thing we want to do is the same thing like this, but by technician. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to get a unique list of the technician names. So go to equals unique to get a unique list. Go over to the technician name in column K, click in cell K1, and then press Control Shift and the down arrow, and then press Enter. And now we have, let me move my big head out of the way. Now we have a unique list of the technician names. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight this, press Control C, and then Control Shift V to remove the formula. Then we can do the same thing here. We can actually do the same thing here. Copy the first 2, paste here, and then highlight these, and then drag it down, because you remember it was equals the one above it. Okay, so the next thing is similar to this. We need to count, but instead of the month, we want to do it on the technician name. So equals count FS. Oh, that didn't work. How do I minimize this? It's all right. You got the full vision. You got the full picture of me. It's because whenever I do this and my picture's in the way. So count FS, and then we want to go to over here all the way to the right. So the same day completion flag, was it yes, and then comma, and then the technician name in column K, comma, and then was it this person here, Alex Rodriguez. So 48. And then the next thing, if you remember before, instead of having to do the whole formula again, we can just copy and paste and then remove yes to no. And then we have that. And then for this, it's this divided by the sum of these two, but all you have to do is just copy this, and then paste it here. And then it's good. So highlight this, double click down, and then you're good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple rows above, so we can have, not you don't get to come along. And then that way we can have a benchmark cell. And that benchmark can be, I don't know, let's say 70%. What do we do here? 80%, but it's dynamic. So actually I gotta type it in, 80%. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to create conditional formatting to where the row will highlight if it's less than this value. So what we can do is conditional formatting, and then we can do a new rule, and then use a formula to create that rule, and then it's going to equal, you need a $, and then you want this cell here in I-19 equals, no, actually it's going to be, sorry, it's going to be E20. E20, $ E20 less than, and then you want, I gotta type in the E here, E20, and then you want it less than, and you need $, where is it? $19, the 80% essentially. And then we're gonna format it. We can just format it however you want. Click OK. Okay, and now you can see if this is less than this, then it's going to change colors. So let's go to 85, right? And you can see more added. If we do 50, everything's going to remove 65, 70, 75. Okay, so the last thing I want to do here is create the chart, which it's going to be the same type here, but what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to highlight this, hold down Control, and then highlight all of this. I'm not going to copy and paste that maximum value. And then I think we had a column, yeah. So go to Insert, here, Recommended Charts, All Charts, Combo, and then we have it here, but we want the minimum to be a line. Click OK, and then we got the chart. Let me change the name. We got to do a little bit of housekeeping. So same day completion rate by technician. Did I spell that right? And then you can click here and you can make it a little bit smaller, just so it's on the same line. And then finally, we're going to do, I'll just put this off to the right a little bit. We're going to click here. Remember to change the bound. We'll do the minimum bound to say 55, which is good. And then we'll do, change this color to gray, change it to 1.5, and this time I won't, we can make it sort of a little, have a dash, so dash, gray, 1.5. Yeah, so that's essentially how you can create all that stuff. Let me show you one last thing. Here, this is a number value. And in the other one, just so it looks like the other tab, we want to have the word benchmark, just so your team will sort of know, what's going on. And so what you do is press Control-1, and then go to Custom. And then here you have the %, and then before, type quotations, and then benchmark, space, quotations. And now you have the benchmark, because if you type benchmark, like this, it's not a number, right? Remember, equals this plus 1, right? Value equals this plus 1, and it works, right? So you have to go in and say, hey, I want this word before, but I still want it to be a number. All right, so that's all I got for this one. I think we covered everything. And so, yeah, this is obviously, this is a pretty important metric. And so if you have any questions about this, please ask questions at databoards.io. And also, if you can't create this data set, if you have an export, but you can't get it, to work the way you're wanting, or the way, you need to create something like this, shoot me an email, or in the description, there's going to be a link to a form to hop on my calendar. Either one, whatever's easiest. But if that's not what you're needing, then I will see you in future videos.